Hi everybody, welcome back to Talk with TQ. I'm Toni Quest, and because I know you, you can call me TQ. I love doing this show, and today we're on location at the Paradise Restaurant in Verplanck, New York. I'm very excited when we go on location. I'm interviewing a really wonderful gentleman today. He actually has a TV show also. His name is Victor Margiotta. His show is called The Community Show, and his show is about just that. Welcome, Victor.
Thank you, Toni.
Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so you're just like a local celebrity with your show. People know you.
Yeah, I guess I am. But, you know, it's also the fact that, you know, I come from a big family and been working at the restaurant here forever. And, you know, and I am sort of a social butterfly. I do love people. I love to talk to people. I love to... You know, I love kids, I love family, I love, you know, the whole aspect of taking care of kids and being responsible, you know.
Yeah, being responsible. Now, being one of 10, okay, I have to ask you, what was that like? And you were where in the mix?
Well, I was number 8 out of 10. There was 9 boys and 1 girl. And
wow.
I was the firstborn in the new house. We actually started in the house behind the restaurant. And my brother John, who's a year older, was not born in the house. We were all born at in Peekskill. The old hospital used to be up on Water Street. And then the new hospital, I was actually the first to be born in the new hospital.
You were the first? Come on.
Well,
really?
Not the first in Peekskill, but the first for our family.
Wow,
you know,
okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was funny because every time my mother went in, you know, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're here again," you know.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Did she have her own suite?
Right, and they wound up putting a plaque on one of the beds. No, but you know, they were always surprised to see her keep coming back. But they were both from a family of 9 and 10, so you know, in the back of their mind, they wanted to have a big family, and the one thing that they said was they always loved having a baby in the house. You know, and you always love babies and toddlers, but you know, the challenges of different ages in the family, you know, when they become a little older, you know, then, you know, my mother says, "Oh, you found out you had a mouth," you know. Now, you know, or she would say something like, you know, when you stood up for your brother, you know, for lying or whatever, "Oh, what are you, his lawyer?" You know.
No, she had a good sense of humor.
Oh, well, that was...
Yeah.
It's true. You know.
I guess she had to.
You had to.
To get through the day.
Yeah. I mean, they were sarcastic, you know, but I think that was part of the times, you know, sarcasm. I don't think people are as open to sarcasm as much as they used to be, you know what I mean? You know, times have changed. I think, you know, people are a little more sensitive now, you know, which is tough, whereas people used to be able to take a joke, you know.
Doesn't always work both ways.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to realize that.
So you were number 8, so most of your siblings were older than you.
Yeah.
What was that like? You were the baby for how long?
Just a year, and then my brother Joe came.
Wow.
And then,
She wasn't wasting.
yeah, right. And then Charlie was the youngest, so he wound up being the baby.
Okay.
But he was the youngest, and then he became the tallest.
Oh,
so,
really? That's interesting. Yeah.
And he got married. He's got 5 kids. And they had, Mary Grace was, you know, already planned. So they had to have 4 boys before they had Mary Grace.
Yeah.
And then finally, and she's wonderful. She's, I think, 9 now. And she's going into like 3rd or 4th grade, but she's wonderful. She reminds me of my father. She can talk with her face. She doesn't have to say a word. She could just express what she's saying just by...
Her expression.
Yeah, but just with her face,
Yeah.
you know, and that's how my father was. All he had to do was look at you.
And you knew.
Yeah, you knew. You knew what he was thinking, so...
Yeah, I think everybody's family was different. I don't know if I had that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if anybody looked at me like, maybe my mother. My mother, I can remember kind of looking up like that, and
right.
she had an expression.
Right. But it was kind of like 2 different families. The older ones kind of kept to themselves and were doing their thing, and then you know, us younger ones were, you know, more or less together. And you know, my parents were very strict though. I don't remember leaving the yard, you know, until I was much older. You know, they were very much on top of us. But we did go to the Montrose Marina down here,
Okay.
the Cortland Yacht Club. They had a pool, and it was beautiful. It was huge. And it actually had a diving board with a big tank pool and then the lower pool. And we grew up with a few other families that we were very close with, and it was like another little, group family, and it was beautiful. We just lost Peggy Hughes, was a very dear friend of ours.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, and we're very close with the kids, Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Oh,
Mary
wow, okay.
Yeah, and I always wondered if they named them after the group. But,
Yeah, I think it might have just been, well, gonna have to ask.
and then the youngest was Aileen, and she's funny. I love Aileen, and I was telling her how I joined the golf league, and I might be the #1 guy this year. And she says, "Wow, your dreams have really come true for you, huh?" And I was talking about sarcasm.
I know, right?
But I laughed it off. I kind of was
Yeah, you gotta have a good time.
Yeah,
You just
you gotta.
do. It sounds like you had a fun childhood
Oh,
growing
it
up.
was awesome. And, it was funny because we had built-in friends, I had my brother Joe, who I grew up with. It was funny, my mother kind of dressed us up the same, so we were like twins, Everybody asked, "Are you guys twins?" And then when we got older, he became older, so it was kind of strange.
Yeah. You aged at different rates?
Yeah, a little bit.
It happens.
Yeah.
It does.
I think he was, like my mother, kind of a worrier, and I think that takes a toll on you when
Yeah.
you worry,
Yeah.
the stress.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a care in the world, and I kind of try to stay that way.
That's a good
but,
thing.
Yeah.
You didn't have 10 kids,
No. I mean, you have to have a little worry. You got to be able to pay your bills. You got
Yeah.
to be able to,
Be responsible.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to call it worry or fear or responsibility, but you got to, you have to have that little bit of, well, if I don't do this, there's going to be consequences, and that's important.
Yeah, it's good you have to know it.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to become a talk show host?
Oh, well, I loved Merv Griffin. I just
Oh.
loved the fact that
Yeah.
he just sat there and all these wonderful people came on the show.
Yeah.
And all he had to do was, like we're doing, just keep the conversation going, I remember when he brought Arnold Schwarzenegger on, and he's like, "Come on, dude, take off the shirt. Let's go," So he had to take off his jacket and his shirt, and, he was...
Yeah, flexing up.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what he's famous for, you know?
I always imagine what it was really like on those sets.
Oh, yeah, right.
But,
we grew up in a generation where TV there was a lot of good stuff on. I loved the Mod Squad. Remember that show?
I do remember that show.
It was the best. That was
Yeah.
my favorite. And then, by the time I was born in '65, and then the early '70s, a lot of the shows were already rerun. The Partridge Family was a rerun, but we watched the Brady Bunch. That was, that was new.
Yeah,
So we were watching that as it was being made, which was a great show. It was about a family, and it was about two people that came together that had their own families, and and that's a big thing now with divorced and people remarrying. And
I think it was somewhat prophetic because it seems that now there are so many blended families. I think that's the term.
Yeah.
Because people get married at different stages in their life, and then they bring their family in, and they bring the family together.
Yeah, right.
And
and then the holidays are tough because you got to go to this family and then you got to go to that family.
Yeah.
And it's but I mean even that with regular families, my parents, we just had a holiday and, we didn't all get together. But if my parents were here, and I was thinking that all day, I was like, if my parents were here, we would have had to be either at the restaurant or at the house,
Yeah.
And sometimes when you lose that, it's kind of tough because then you don't have that obligation to be somewhere,
Right.
But,
And I think it's something that most people look forward to. I wonder maybe if you're in a blended family, you have nowhere to go, maybe you come here. Everybody, come here to the Paradise Restaurant.
Right, for sure.
This is a very warm place. I had dinner here a couple of weeks ago, as you know, and I have to say it was such a wonderful surprise, because usually you go into a restaurant you haven't been to before, everybody knows everybody and they're like doing their thing, but all of a sudden you're sitting down, and I had a friend show up, And all of a sudden, we're talking to everybody. Everybody's talking to everybody from everybody's table. You're bringing food out and giving it to the kid.
Yeah.
You know, I met this great, like, 2-year-old.
Yeah, I know. She was unbelievable.
2 years old.
Yeah.
She's I mean, I told them, I said, she's really going to go to.
Gifted.
She's
Without a
gifted.
doubt.
She looked like she was ready to go to Harvard. The way she sounded. You know, I felt immature next to this child. I was shocked. You know, I was shocked. Everybody was very, very welcoming here, I have to say. And I'll add that the food is excellent,
Thank you.
quite authentic.
Yeah.
I recommend it highly.
Yeah.
You know, and so let me just talk to you more about your show and some of your interviews.
Okay.
I saw an interview you did with a woman. Her name is Lisa Edwards, and she does things to empower women. It sounds like, from what I could discern from the interview, she was discussing a program that she has that helps people that are from battered households, and then instead of just like selling real estate, which I think is what she does, she does something that's a lot better, lot more community-like. Talk to me about a little bit why you chose to interview her.
Well, you know, that's the whole idea of the community show, you know, getting involved. You know, I work 5 days a week now. We usually work 6, but after the pandemic, we've cut down, and now that it's hard to get people to work, hopefully that changes soon. But, you know, I volunteer my time to do this show, to talk about getting involved, to helping out, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect example of somebody that, you know, just doesn't talk about, oh, they should do something about this. She's actually doing something, you know. She set up a house for women, you know, that have been abused, that need somewhere to stay, and you know, and need the time to kind of get their life back together, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, from her own personal experience, you know, this is something that happened to her also, and she's able to survive it and move on, but she sees the need out there to help people. You know, there's, you know, it's funny. There's so many things that are going on out there that it's not in, you know, clear view. You know, I mean,
True.
Number one is this heroin epidemic that's just horrible. I mean,
Yeah, what are we going to do about that?
yeah, why don't we shut the country down and do something about that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The amount of people, and it's all young people that are dying. And
Yeah.
it's, you know, you don't want to go on a sad note, but these are things that have to be talked about. You know
It's
what I
true,
mean?
and I can say, and I bet dollars to donuts, I'll say it like that everybody knows someone.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I know,
You know?
at least 30 people.
Yeah.
I know there's just this one group of people that all passed away.
Yeah, from overdoses.
Yeah. And then the parents, the poor parents, you know, blaming themselves and the you know, the guilt and the shame that they're going through. It's just, you know, and thank God there are places that they can go. And I actually just read a story about a couple of parents that get together and, you know, console each other and help each other. And yet, you know, you wind up having to need that, you know what I mean? Because of the shame and the guilt that they feel, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's the core of the community. How do we help people, you know? You can't let them be alienated and then suffer. That could lead to a drinking problem or you know, any other thing, you
It
know?
can lead to a lot of things
lot
if you
of
just
things.
ignore it. And I'll just say that when you find out that somebody that you know is in that particular situation or died from that, it's a shock.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, you can't help but think, what could I have done? What could I have done?
I know. That's true. You know, could I have been there for them? You
Yeah.
know?
And I don't know that it's anyone's fault or anyone's responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, but I was impressed with the fact that Lisa, you know, she was talking about going from being in an abusive situation to an empowered situation.
Yes.
And it was just a beautiful interview
Yeah.
that you conducted for her, and she was very open to you.
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of people, I hope they see that interview
Yeah.
if it gets released again, because I found it really inspiring.
Yeah, and you could just YouTube it, community show, Victor Margiotta, and then Lisa Edwards.
Lisa Edwards.
Yeah, and it will come up.
Yeah,
So,
it was a great interview,
Yeah.
and I think she's a great person. I've noticed that you've interviewed some other women that
Yeah.
are doing things, and that's impressive.
Thanks.
You know?
I could remember, I think I was in second grade, and we got our tests back, and I got like a 78, I think, and the girl next to me got a 100.
What?
And I said, woo. And, you know, I have respect for women. I mean, I love my mother. My mother was incredible. I mean, to raise 10 kids
Yeah.
and to work as hard as she did. And she put us ahead of herself, you know what I mean? But she made sure we ate before she ate. She made sure that, you know, we were taken care of before she took care of herself. And, you know, that was incredible, you know, to me. And it showed a lot of, you know, what a parent should be. You know?
Yeah, could be, should
And
be.
could be, yeah.
You know, I admire it. I'm not a parent, you know, but I do remember being a child. I do remember that. I do remember it. And I know that it's not always so easy.
No. And, you know, I think it's a shame that a lot of people don't realize. Maybe because they were spoiled and they wind up having kids and then they find out how hard it is and they don't realize, you know.
Yeah.
You could be up for days with the baby crying, you know,
Yeah.
with colic or whatever, just things that, you know, kids have,
Yeah.
you know, problems with the food they're eating or whatever. And, you know, and sleep deprivation can really do a number on
Yes,
you.
it
You know?
can do a number on you, right? What do they say? There can be no healing without sleep.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
A comedian, he was talking about it. He had, his kid kept him up for, he goes, I don't know why I ever did drugs. All you got to do is just stay awake for a couple of days.
You feel like,
Yeah. And it's like being on drugs, he said. I thought it was pretty funny.
yeah.
But parenting and marriage is the hardest thing in the world. There's no doubt about it. And once you make that commitment, I think, you know, I know a lot of priests, they're excellent priests, who counsel people before they get married and say,
Yeah.
this is the hardest thing you're ever going to do.
You got to know what you're getting into.
Yeah, and that's why they say true love. True love, you know, makes the difference. You don't get married just to get married. You know what I mean?
You have
It's
to have a
gotta
real
be-
clear reason, I feel.
I think so.
Yeah. I think that when you marry somebody, you should make it a vow that you're going to help each other get
Well,
to
that's
heaven.
what it is. You know, and it's a vow. It's, you know, and that's why it's one of the sacraments. You know, it's
is a
the
sacrament.
ultimate. You know.
It's not taken as seriously as it should be.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to pretend that I'm
No.
all holier than
No,
thou.
of course
I
not.
actually like marriage. I did it twice. You know, I did. No, the one I lived all the way out, okay? But I'm just saying that you know, there's a celebrity, I won't even mention her, well, I'll mention her name later, that I always had like, she's like my best friend in my head, you know,
Yeah,
when I
right.
think of her. And I remember her saying when she was in a marriage, she's a very celebrity, there was a little bit of public exposure to her marriage and something that went wrong, and she got it together with her husband again. I remember her saying that the most important thing about being married is that you should help each other get to heaven. And I thought that. I
Wow,
thought about my
that's
first
beautiful.
marriage. I said, that's what went wrong. I thought he should go to hell. You know, I didn't want him to go there, you know?
Yeah.
But no, I didn't really think that, but I'm just saying. He might be there. Oh, whatever.
I know, whatever. Judge not, lest ye be judged.
That's
you
right.
know,
And I don't want to be judged because I know I'm not an angel.
Not perfect.
I'm not perfect.
You know, and since we're on the subject, I just interviewed Beth Venn. She's helping
Yes.
Kiko, Makiko down at the art studio.
Yeah.
And it was funny because it was at St. Patrick's School where I went for 8 years
Yeah.
and, you know, got my religious education. And, you know, and nuns and priests and, you know, the one thing I realized when I was a kid was that they're still just people. You
They
know what I
are.
mean? And I've met some really holy priests that I loved and that were really, you know, got their calling and were doing what they were supposed to be doing.
Right,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
And then I met some priests that were, you know,
Yeah.
not really inspiring, I would say.
Yeah.
But, you know, that they were doing their job. But I didn't put them in a position of holiness. I put them in a position of a person that's doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? And that God is almighty, not,
That's-
you know, not people.
Right.
You know, and if they're doing their job, then they're showing you that, you know, God is the one you're praying to, not the priests or
Yeah.
the nuns. Or,
They are the representatives of,
Right.
you know, and I always say that in the Catholic Church, and I was raised in the Catholic Church, that's where I learned right from wrong.
yeah,
You know, when I wasn't home, I was learning it there.
Yeah.
You know, you can't really deny it.
no.
And I think that, you do some great things, like I think it's really good. And I feel that in seeing an interview you did about the museum that's opening at St. Peter's Church. Is it still the church?
It's St. Patrick's.
St. Patrick's,
and the church is still here, but they sold the school. A lot of schools closed down because of funding and for whatever reason, because people can't afford to go to these schools, and it happens. And people, even the amount of people that even just go to church has gone way down.
Yes.
And I think I interviewed a few priests to try and get people to start thinking about going back to church.
Yeah.
For me, it's uplifting. It's it's a way to keep in touch with God. But I always still feel like I'm with Him always.
Right.
And they say, your life is a prayer. How you act is constant, and you're constantly interacting with God. I mean, He sees what you're doing all the time.
That's true.
So your life is a prayer.
Yeah.
That how you conduct yourself.
It's true. Life is a prayer. I like that. I'm going to borrow that. It's a mantra. I'll have that mantra for a couple. I like it.
Yeah.
Your interview, though, you did it on location in the museum. That was an excellent interview.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I think it's really outstanding that you're actually doing an interview with someone that's bringing the arts to Verplanck. Now, people don't think of Verplanck in terms of art.
No.
And you talked about that in the interview. So what is your view on that? Do you think that Verplanck can be an art community?
Well, we're
or destination?
just a little off the beaten path, which I think is going to be kind of tough for them because you kind of drive here. It's not like you're just driving on 9A and here we are. You kind of got to go off. Helping with promotion, and now that you have the internet, and then you can expose yourself a little more to the public.
Yes.
And I think this area needs it. Now they talked about turning it into apartments. A developer was going to buy it and do that. But I think this is a much better idea because it's also going to be an educational venue too, where they're going to try and hold classes and educate. Because the original guy was a teacher. He taught for many years.
And his name was Kinosato?
Yes. And, it's a shame that he passed in 2016, but thank God his wife was able to keep it going.
Yes.
And,
good for her.
yeah.
I always appreciate art, no matter where it is. And I really thank you for doing that as an artist. I really thank you for bringing art just a little bit, making it a little bit broader, because most people would not think of coming to Verplanck, New York to see art.
No.
Even though you're right next door to Peekskill, this is such a little private hamlet down here.
Yeah.
Do you envision more art happening here?
I would love for that to happen. I mean, they even talked about, it would be a great idea to bring the students down to the river, and paint riverscapes.
Yes,
and,
plein air painting. Yes.
That's beautiful. I actually still have my old portfolio from 9th or 10th grade that I took in art class.
Okay.
And I wish I kept it up more, but you can't beat sitting and just drawing, and I always enjoy drawing and painting and even coloring to this day, whipping out a box of crayons and just coloring. I still, to my nieces and nephews, I'll still make the card, happy birthday.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah, and they love it, and they, a lot of them save them, because they know that I did it, from my heart. So.
Yeah, usually it's the other way around where your mother will save your thing,
Yeah.
I was shocked when I opened my grandmother's things after she passed, the things that she saved.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, the family meant so much to her that every little creative thing, they cherished. As your nieces and nephews love it that you give them the cards. Kids can cherish it too.
Yeah.
I think so.
We were talking about on our show a couple of weeks ago how, I'm kind of a hoarder where I still have, cards and letters and stuff that people gave me. And it's hard to throw them away, And as long as I have the room, I'm not going to throw them away.
You're sentimental.
Until I have to throw them away.
Yeah.
And even pictures, when we sold my parents' house, I still have like 4 boxes of pictures that there's no way I'm going to throw them away.
Don't do it.
No,
Keep
they
it.
mean the world to me.
Yeah. I think also having prints like that is rare now.
Yeah, right. Everything's Digital.
Everything's digital, and you think about I think about all the slides I have from pictures I took decades ago.
Yeah.
You know, with an SLR Pentax. You know, what am I going to do? I'll have to ask Jim what to do about that. Our director will know.
Yeah, speaking of Jim, I just want to thank him so much.
Yeah,
for
I
the hard
want
work
to
he
thank
does.
him too.
He's awesome. And
thank
Joe.
you, Jim and Joe. Yes, I promise I won't knock on the mic again. I won't do it. You know, yeah. I always say that you have to recognize the people that have you where you are.
Yeah.
You know, I like that you talked about Merv Griffin. Were you one of the kind of kids that used to sit up and watch the talk shows late at night?
Yeah, I did for a while. When they started getting a little, political or whatever, that's the beauty of this country, though. We are allowed to make fun of the president. We are allowed to satirize and to, make fun of. The best is always when they're coming off the plane and they fall down the stairs.
Oh, what was that? Was Gerald Ford?
Yeah, he fell everywhere.
He fell all the time. And they did reels of him just falling off one plane, falling off another plane.
Yeah, now if it was the other country, they put you against the wall.
Yeah, right.
But,
you talk about the president, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but, that's the beauty of this society, and I hope we are able to keep it, But we can only do that if people get involved. If people fight for our rights for free speech and religion, and that's what this country is based on,
Yeah.
And if we don't fight for it, we're going to lose it. So I think that's another thing that's so important.
Yeah, it is important, and I think the fact that you're doing something that is about this community, people outside of this community will see it. My feeling is that there's a global community, but if you have to always recognize your local community and its place in the global community, and it's the global community's place in your local community. And peace starts at home.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Mother Teresa said, just help your own family,
That's all you have to do.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go to Calcutta or go to, to wherever. I mean, start right at home. You talk about saving the world, and you're fighting with your neighbor. I mean, come on, that's...
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
I know people that left an entire community because they didn't get along with one set of neighbors.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't there, so I don't know what they went.
I know.
But I would never let anybody
No.
be so horrible to make me actually leave my own community.
Well, that was one of the gifts of being raised in a big family. We always sat down to dinner together. And even if I just had a big fight with my brother, I had to sit right next to him and eat dinner, and all I could think about was jumping over and, getting into it with him. But, my parents taught us how to have self-control, which is huge. Self-control. I play golf, and one of the things about golf is, you say, well, I should have kept my head down, or I shouldn't have tried to kill the ball. Well, don't should have. Do it, Keep your head down. Don't try to kill the ball. Do the things that you talk about. Don't talk about them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, and self-control is a big thing, and...
yeah, and it comes in many packages.
It does,
And
I talk about freedom of speech, but sometimes not saying something is more profound than saying something,
Yes.
And then maybe saying it later.
Well, all I can say is that silence can be deafening at times. I've been there, and I think it's a really good idea to actually speak one's mind to an extent, but most importantly, I think that you're fantastic.
Oh, well, thanks.
I love your show.
Appreciate it.
I love your swagger. I think it's really cool, and we need more people like you. We need more shows like your show.
Oh, well, thanks.
Because I think it's really important. I think communication is the key to peace. And you communicate very well on your show.
Oh, thanks.
So I'm going to say good night to the audience. Thanks for coming to Talk with TQ. I'll be back, and I really appreciate that you come and watch the show. And thank you for always emailing me your feedback. So feel free to reach out to me by email. I just love hearing from you. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.